Good afternoon, Yippee Eclectic Hope for Yang coming back at you with another Yang Media blackout via Schmier. This was also put in the Denver Post, the USA Today, but the paper of origin and the author of origin is Brian Dickerson of the Detroit Free Press, and this is just an outrageous article right here. I will air a photo of the Denver Post version at the end of this video, but this little article has gone seemingly viral in the mainstream media because it is such an artful smear on Andrew Yang. And the title of the article, I thought I typed it in here, but yeah, Andrew Yang gets why Trump won. It's, that's the, let's get into this. Andrew Yang, right off the bat, allegedly admits defeat in the second sentence of this article. Says Andrew Yang is not going to be the Democratic nominee for president in 2020. He knows that too. And that ain't what Yang Gang heard on Twitter. We hear a completely different story online. He's fighting and he's winning, which is why these smear articles are coming out in force. It's to try and intimidate us out of the Yang Gang. But if we really put our research into what's going on, we know that this is the time to really start backing Andrew Yang. But Brian goes on to say, to basically make Yang's qualification for the third debate look like a mysterious fluke. He somehow got in, and discounts his influence during the debate. Nobody really paid attention. But, how many Google searches, email signups, new Yang Gang members, entries into the $120,000 giveaway were there? The internet blew up with Andrew Yang, and we're, stronger and stronger. There's more and more Yang Gang members out here. He can't lie his way out of a paper bag. So, just think if every American wins this $120,000 giveaway, all it is, it's each of the 10 families receiving the freedom dividend, so 10 times 12,000. And, the entire country is going to win that in 2021 when we elect Andrew Yang as our president. So just think of how busy we're going to be when this becomes official and nationwide. And all we have to do is vote for the nice Asian guy who likes math. It's super easy. But Mr. Dickerson goes on to validate the entire Yang Media blackout because a quote-unquote dark horse candidate isn't seemingly worth the time and coverage that the Yang Gang constantly demands. This is why we are out here, to provide the Andrew Yang coverage ourselves in spite of the bought and paid for mainstream media. Comcast can't buy me with their conservative views and super fast awesome internet connection. I'm going to say my piece, and so are all the rest of my YouTubers and Twitter family and people on Facebook. We're coming alive and we are independent, all of us. We're just looking out for everybody's well-being here. You have to get the truth out there, and since people like Brian Dickerson are not going to report honestly and fairly, the duty falls upon us. And so, but, just moving on. Just when we're starting to think that Brian Dickerson is your typical establishment clone, he tries really hard to appeal to our higher sensibilities by opening up about how Andrew Yang's freedom dividend and an unnamed issue like automation will maybe be relevant topics in presidential races to come in a decade or so. It'll be coming around the mountain when it comes, But especially if Yang's forecast of an artificial intelligence, this is another quote, I'm sorry, especially if Yang's forecast of an artificial intelligence-induced tsunami of unemployment proves prescient or prophetic. It's, we all know it's coming. We're seeing more and more information about, jobs getting automated out. We're seeing WebMD. There's going to be, there's legal websites. There's, the self-checkout kiosks. These aren't the droids you're looking at. Sorry, I shouldn't make references on my, sorry. But, it's just stupid denial. It's not even smart denial. He might as well just say that penguins like to swim in warmer water. See how happy they look? It's just so dumb. But here's the good news. By realizing that his very same article has been printed in many different brainwashing rags, it's safe to assume that more and more crap smearers are going to automate themselves out of a job with mass-produced Republican regurgitation like this. How do people get a journalism degree anyway? I heard the Cracker Jack box jokes, but they don't have good prizes in there anymore, so I'm not quite sure where these journalists are coming out of the woodwork. This is, it's laughable, so I'm gonna have to laugh here with you. So, I'm just hoping that more independents like us will help wash out even more of these clowns. People are going to want to listen and watch, Nerds for Yang or Grassroots Family or Page It or, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, I'm sorry. But people are going to want to listen to independent reporters speaking their minds rather than these establishment clones speaking from their wallets. We know where the money's coming from. The good message isn't, it's being blindsided by a bunch of people who have to pay for your attention. Now, if they have to pay for your attention, there's a reason why. Legitimate human give-a-darn factor isn't there. You have to use trickery to get your smear campaign across. So, I don't know. I'm just a second-generation hippie long hair. What do I know? I know it would be fun to get hippies for Yang to trend. Can we do that? Hippies for Yang? I'll see if I can remember to put some text up here. Hippies for Yang would be just... Oh, can we? But anywho's, moving on. Brian Dickerson's interested in Andrew Yang's campaign, not because he makes any sense, not because he has 160 policies ready to roll out, not because he wants to save the penguins, but because he got the answer right for why did we elect Trump. That's why Andrew Yang is interesting to Mr. Dickerson. Okay. By blaming racism, Russia, and the anti-Clinton sentiment, which is like the question and the answers that we usually hear, he's saying that's part of Andrew Yang's platform. It's part of his joke platform. Pay attention. And, the real answer is by automating away 4 million jobs in the swing states. And I'm from Wisconsin, so I was there. I came back to an empty shell factory after being laid off and rehired. I know what's going on. It's been going on since '08. So, here we are, guys. And, and that's just my little bit of the experience. But these are the Dickerson-approved reasons for electing Trump. But he discounted the completely obvious automation integration just earlier. He's approving of Yang's explanation that we automated 4 million jobs away while saying that it's not really happening. And then, Mr. Dickerson seems to allude going on that his son would kind of be Yang Gang if he had as much interest in politics as he does for proclamations of doom. makes me want to be friends with young Mr. Dickerson. I'd help him find the hope that comes from Yang Gang love. Don't be such a downer. Get with the solutions instead of the problems. The focus that Brian's son seems to have is that he agrees with Andrew Yang about how the truckers won't go down willingly when automation comes. There'll be strikes, there'll be riots, there'll, be a lot of anger because these people have been the backbone of the circulatory system of our country for decades. And now all of a sudden, you've been replaced by a computer. Your job is no longer valid. So it's going to get, real out there, guys. And this is, by mentioning this, Brian Dickerson is confirming for the second time the automation integration that he just slammed, a paragraph and a half before this point. And, like I said, I will put the some snapshots of this article up at the end of my video because you got to see it for yourself. Or you could just find it on the Detroit Free Press website. But, not to wander any deeper into the fog of ignorance with this article. But Yang is allegedly going to solve this whole trucker revolution crisis with his $1,000 freedom dividend. He completely discounts the other 160 amazing policies, all the speeches and the solutions that Andrew Yang has proposed. It's all writing on the freedom dividend, folks. Excuse me a second. And Mr. Dickerson goes on to say that the solution of the freedom dividend is as feasible as Marianne Williamson's plan to harvest love to bring about a spiritual transformation in government. It sounds like what I heard about the hippie movement when I was... Anyway, he's covering up good ideas with fluff and ridiculous comebacks. It's just so juvenile. So I have to laugh at this guy. I'm sorry, but I have to. And, but this next point is what I knew for certain, that Mr. Dickerson writes his articles by dictation. I mean, Andrew Yang has 160 plus policy proposals ready to roll and posted on, let's see if I remember text again, yang2020.com/policies. Or if you don't have time to sit and read, if you prefer your knowledge delivered verbally, please refer to yanglinks.com. Catch all the video interviews. So, fill your head full of knowledge. Don't say it's all writing on the freedom dividend. It's clearly not. You're being lazy. I don't approve of laziness. So, here we are. He goes on with more cheap stabs, accusing Andrew Yang's freedom dividend giveaways, this one and, past ones, the couple families, of being a stunt or violating campaign laws. This is clearly not the case, or else he would have been booted out by now. To use personal money to perform an experiment on a plan that he's trying out. That the freedom dividend and his 160 other policies are ideas that a lot of us haven't heard of before now. We're being forced to look at, wait a minute, there are solutions available. Something better than a federally guaranteed job mopping sidewalks. So, it's on here. And that's why this is, the smear campaign is, oh man, they are trying so hard here. But he's going on to say that, the freedom dividend and Andrew Yang's campaign in general will be more popular to look at in the future when all the jobs have already been taken away, because it's already starting and we know that. The automation integration began, more than 10 years ago, about 15 years ago. So he's saying, that this isn't going to be, of any importance for another decade down the road. Now, I was in high school. I was in middle school when the phone lines started being overtaken by bot dialers and bot speakers. They've gotten better than that since a lot. So just it's coming and it's so obvious, and he's trying to cover it up, and it's not working. But it makes sense that he's not going to be looking at this for another decade down the road. I'm sure, Mr. Dickerson will be more receptive to $1,000 every month when his job and 50% of his colleagues have been long since replaced by a single re-educated trucker turned YouTube reporter from Iowa. The trucker had two choices. It was reporting over YouTube or learning to code. And Mike was like, F HTML. I'm cameras are cheap. So, this is where the mainstream media is going. It's going to people like us who are willing to have frank and honest conversations with you nice folks. So, we're almost done with this rag. I mean, almost done. Brian Dickerson finishes this rag by insinuating that Andrew Yang won't be relevant until more and more Americans are out of work. He's repeating the same dumb point when the job apocalypse has already happened. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for people to figure this out in the next 10 years or so, can my son and I come camp in your front yard, when I get tired of living in my government-owned gangland apartment complex? That'd be cool, Brian, all right? We won't make a peep. We'll be real nice neighbors, might even mow the grass once in a while. It'd be great. Oh, but yeah, right. In the 10 years that's, coming in the meantime, I'm probably going to have to teach you how to brew Chevy Sun Tea and cook trash can barbecue in the parking lot of this hole long before I need to camp in your yard. But hey man, don't worry, because I will be more than happy to sell you my Chevy, because it's a Chevy that you have to shove occasionally. But I'll sell it to you for like $1,500. It makes a great portable residence. It doesn't have plumbing, but it has heat. And, there might even be some cereal remnants under the seats if you get hungry before food stamps day. It's very vital to have a food stash. So these options are available to you, Mr. Dickerson, unless you realize in less than 10 years that we all really need some help here. So, man, I'm sorry if I got a little stabby with this one, but, man, people just have too much fun and work too hard making these silly little smear ads, and they aren't doing their homework, and they aren't looking up any of the policies or any of the proposals or any of the plans or anything Andrew Yang has to say other than what tiny little bit mainstream media has allowed him to say thus far. So, friends, Yang Gang, countrymen, lend me your computers and let's get together and end this Yang media blackout, but with our own endeavors and our own voices. That's what it's going to take this time. Otherwise, Andrew Yang is just going to get Sanders bagged, like in 2016. That's the absolute last thing we need right now. So let's please rise together. And, thank you for, again, watching my Hip Eclectic Hope videos. I'd like to thank my 8th subscriber. I'm just starting to bud on here, so these little victories are just inspirational and joyous. So I appreciate you all for, hitting the like and subscribe buttons and watching and sharing my videos. I hope you enjoy. I'm glad that I could start focusing on the positive aspects of the Andrew Yang campaign, rather than the negative aspects of what he's trying to prevent. And these smear eggs are really funny, so look forward to more coverage of the Yang media blackout. I'm just having a delightful time going over this with y'all. So, peace out. Have a wonderfully blessed Yangtastic day. And I hope to see you all soon on here and on Twitter. Bless y'all.